This episode is brought to you by the Boneyard Huskies Club. The Boneyard Huskies Club empowers athletes while providing UConn fans with access to exclusive community, utility, and rewards. The Boneyard Huskies Club is excited to announce the next collection of student-athlete collectibles, which grant club membership privileges, will feature UConn men's basketball players and drop on January 9th, 2023. For more information, go to boneyardhuskiesclub.com. That's Huskies with a YZ at the end. Boneyardhuskiesclub.com. All right, excited to have another episode here and another former UConn men's basketball player and Ed Nelson joining us today. Ed, welcome to the podcast.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely glad to have you, especially I think you might have been the reason this team pulled out such a big win at Florida last week.
Oof, I don't know if that was because I was there. I was in the stands with the fans, but no, yeah, what a great experience. My Huskies come to Florida, I got to be there. So I live in Fort Lauderdale. We took the 5-hour drive up north, and yeah, we had a great time watching the team.
That's awesome. I want to start by looking back at your UConn career. I mean, you transferred into UConn well before, transferring was the thing and the portal was all out there. So what was it like transferring back at the time when you made that decision?
Oh man, it was a lot different back then. It was a lot different back then. I transferred in. UConn at that time was #1 in America, very talented. I kind of, my vision at that time was, Mecca was in his final year. I would take that year, develop my game, and step in with a title contender. So that was the plan from day one when I made that move.
So you get to UConn. I've heard horror stories about some of the practices Coach Calhoun would run. What was your first UConn practice like?
Oof, it was, I'm gonna say it was with Hootie and Cemetery Hill. So yeah, back in the day, honestly, I don't know if they still do it, but we used to run Cemetery Hill, and that was my, experience. And I'll give Georgia Tech credit. We had some tough morning workouts, but I'll just never forget the early morning runs up Cemetery Hill with the team. That was pretty tough. And that first week to kick off the season, very intense, a lot of hours in the gym practicing, very competitive. So that's the thing. When you have so many talented players like we had at that time, there was no room for relaxing. We were competing every day, and we were all making each other better.
I think one of the interesting things you mentioned was, you had that year where you were going up against Emeka in practice, got to work out against him. What was that like? Because I think it's interesting because we've heard the stories of how this year with Adama Sanogo and Donovan Clingan, they're going up against each other and they feel like it's helping them become better players. So what was it like for you working out with Emeka all the time?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I was coming off the ACC where, I was battling with the guys from Duke and Lonnie Baxter at Maryland, a lot of big bodies that, I was playing with Chris Bosh. So when I went to UConn, me and Emeka, we worked out every day. I think even, Coach Moore, the coaches, and even the teammates can say, every day in practice, scrimmages, it was, Ed versus Emeka. We were banging, we were going head to head. It really helped me. I know it helped him. But it also raised the level of the new guys. We had freshmen coming in, Josh Boone. We had Charlie Villanueva. We had Hilton Armstrong, Rudy Gay. I mean, listen, it's every time I look back, I always think, every guy that played in front of me was a first round NBA draft pick. I don't know. It's just kind of how the cards fell. But we raised each other's level. And during my sit out year, I was excited. But at that same time, guys like Josh Boone, Charlie Villanueva, they had a Final Four national championship run. So, going into the year I was eligible, you have two young guys who were just on the team and contributed to a national championship team.
Yeah.
Then I got a 6'11" guy, Hilton Armstrong, that I'm battling with him for minutes. And, it's funny. A lot of talent. I mean, a lot of people forget too. At that time, Andrew Bynum even committed.
Yeah.
So we had Andrew Bynum wanting to join the big man party over there at UConn. So just, when you surround yourself with a lot of talented players, there's only one way you're going, and that's up. And I think that's what's happening now at UConn with Sanogo and with Donovan too.
As you made that move from the ACC to the Big East, I know the Big East is a bit different back when you played. It was really known for just the physicality. How much of a jump was it going from the ACC to the Big East and the differences in the way these conferences kind of played?
For me, I thought the Big East, the big men, at that time were 7 footers,
Yeah.
6'10", 6'11". The ACC, when I was there, we had Carlos Boozer. I mean, big guy, but 6'9" body. Lonnie
Yeah.
Baxter, 6'8". We had a guy, Travis Watson at Virginia, about 6'6". So, at that time, the big men in the ACC were, kind of undersized bruisers. The big men in the Big East, I mean, we had Roy Hibbert, like, a lot
Yeah.
of 7 footers, a lot of, big burly 7 footers that really, alters a lot of shots in there. So, I consider myself, a bruiser, an undersized big man. And
Mhm.
sometimes, going against the 7 footers, it can cause you, a bit of a challenge.
When you look back at your UConn career, I mean, you mentioned all those guys that were there with you. Who was your favorite teammate that you had on those teams?
Oof. You know, I, I I can't pick one. I can't pick one. I mean, I got along great with all the guys. I mean, Rudy. I mean, me and Rudy were really close. We still are. He actually lived down here in Fort Lauderdale with his family for a while. So, I'd visit him at his house and we'll get our families together. But, I got along with everyone. And
Yeah.
you know what? That's a true identity of a team. We really bonded. We didn't have too many egos on the team. I mean, someone like myself, I wanted to play the whole game, but I understood that, in order for us to be successful, sometimes I have to bite my tongue about minutes and just get
Yeah.
out there and work hard every day. And, that really, that your teammates see that selflessness, and that's kind of what pushed us, to be great, all of us. So, that's the mentality, good teams have.
Yeah, what was your favorite moment during your playing career at UConn? Anything like stand out to you as you look back at like this was like the highest of highs you had there?
Um, I would say, oof, there's a lot of good moments. I mean, the Big East tournament in the Garden, those were always special. A couple big wins versus Syracuse at home in
Yeah.
Gamble that were special. Personally, game wise, I remember I think I was player of the game. We played NC State in the 2005 tournament, and that's kind of where I kind of felt like myself again.
Yeah.
I made a couple mistakes. Coach Calhoun kept me out there. I started gaining some confidence and, had a really good game. I still think to this day I got a charge against Julius Hodge at the end, but, you know, you never get those calls with 4 or 5 seconds left. So now that I'm older, I realize that. But no, too many special moments, too many
Yeah.
special moments. And when you get older, those are the moments, it's the fun moments too. The Maui Invitational, the road trips and hanging out on the plane, travel. That's
Mhm.
what I remember now too. So it's just collectively, they're all special moments to me.
I bet. I bet. I'm curious from a player's perspective, because from a fan's perspective, I always loved going to games and seeing Coach Calhoun always fighting for you guys. He was always fiery there on the sideline. What's it like
But
from a player's perspective during a game when you see him, whether it's going after a ref or giving someone a quick hook? What's it like on the sideline there?
it's intense. It's intense. It's intense. And it's even more intense when you have a lot of talented guys in your position. So
Yeah.
there's no room for mistakes, let's say that. So I always try to be that glue guy, that hustle guy. Um, but again, it was challenging. It was challenging, but you know, when my career ended and I played overseas and I played in Europe, all those challenges Coach Calhoun brought to us, at the professional level, I could see where he was getting at. So, all those were life lessons for us in the future. I think that's why you see a lot of Coach Calhoun's pros. They're
Mhm.
all successful, and let's not forget about his pros that didn't go to the NBA, but they were very successful overseas because
Yeah.
there's a lot of us that were kind of sleepers over there with not much notoriety, but a lot of us made a name for ourselves overseas.
Yeah, what was it like going to play overseas? And I'm always curious to dive into those experiences a little bit too, because I feel like it's got to be quite different.
Uh, Actually, for me, it was fun. For me, it was fun because, I flirted around with football for a little bit.
Yeah.
I went to the St. Louis Rams. I signed a 2-year deal and went to mini camp and never played football in my life. So just like I said, it was a great experience. But at the same time, I was getting offers in Europe to play basketball, and I'll never forget the coach told me, Ed, I think you have potential. We could throw you on the practice squad, maybe NFL Europe. But, he sat me down and he said, son, if I'm your father, have
Yeah.
you ever been tackled before? And I said, no. And I said, coach, I never even put on a helmet, to be honest with you. And he said, if I was your father, I would, maybe consider your options over in Europe because I
Yeah.
don't want to mess up a 10, 15-year career with you having a career-ending injury in mini camp or,
Yeah.
preseason. So yeah, I went over to Europe. My agent sent me. I actually had a good amount of offers, but I went to the right league in the beginning. I went to Germany,
Hmm.
played in the Bundesliga, played against some EuroLeague teams, and played real well. And that kind of set my path, and I kind of made a name for myself as just being a tough player, a team guy. Um, Started scoring again and rebounding, building that confidence, and that kind of started my career off the bat.
Where's your favorite place that you played overseas?
Oof, I played a lot of places. Played Italy, played in Spain, Germany, Argentina. I would say Argentina.
Okay.
I loved Argentina. After playing about 4 or 5 years, I learned, don't no need to bounce around to many different countries. Find a
Yeah.
place you like, find a club you like. It's good to have stability when you're playing this sport. So I was playing in Bahia Blanca. It's Manu Ginobili's hometown.
Okay.
And I went over there with a really good point guard, played at Temple, named Pepe Sanchez. He
Hmm.
was one of the top ACB players. And he went back to his hometown in Argentina to play. I went with him, and I had no reason to leave. He was passing the ball, played the game the right way. So that season, I led the country in scoring,
Oh wow.
was MVP of the league, and yeah, that kind of set my path forward in Argentina, where I stayed for 5 years.
I feel like from, flicking around and seeing different overseas games, it seems like the crowds are pretty intense overseas. Where's the
Yeah.
toughest crowd that you faced?
Ah, man. I'd actually say this is a funny story. This is when I was in college. I went to China. George
Okay.
Blaney wanted to give me some runs, and I played with the ESPN All Stars in China. And I never forget, we went over there. I had some good players on my team: Travis Diener, Novak, some other guys, that
Yeah.
were pretty good. Guy Taylor Copenrath I think he was from Vermont. And we went to China, and we're 19, 20-year-old guys, and we went into these gyms where there's 15, 20,000 people, and there's fires going off in the stands. And I'll never forget, I went into the game, and they had a player about 7 foot tall, and I'm like, man, I didn't even know there was 7 foot out here. And the guy was very awkward, but he kept swinging his elbows, and
Oh.
he connected with me once, and I was like, all right, I'll let that go. And then I remember a couple possessions later, he got the rebound. He swung his elbows again. And on that swing, he actually split my eye open.
Oh, jeez.
So I went to the bench. The doc is cleaning up my eye. The coach says I'm done. And I looked at the coach and I said, Coach, there is no way I'm done. Patch my eye up. I go, I just need one more minute out on the court. And so it's probably the coach's fault. He gave me that 1 minute. I went out there and ran down the court, and I gave that guy a good little bump, knocked him to the floor. Benches cleared out, and basically, yeah, we almost had a riot in Beijing, China, and
Oh,
I
jeez.
started it. So good thing we weren't on the news that night.
you,
Yeah,
you just you just gave him a little Big East treatment there.
Big East treatment. Put him on the deck. I know he was probably about 7 foot, 300 pounds. He was a big
Oh,
guy, but
okay.
yeah, enough's
All right,
enough with that one. That was a funny story from overseas, though.
I got to see if there's a way to dig that up on YouTube or somewhere.
Yeah, this, this is 2004. Footages get lost. I doubt you'll find it.
Speaking of tough places to play, I mean, the Big East had a ton of hostile environments. Where was the toughest road place to go play in the Big East?
Toughest road place. You know, for me, it was always the Carrier Dome.
Okay.
And I played there when I was at Georgia Tech, played against Carmelo Anthony there. The Carrier Dome was always tough just for the size, just for the backdrop behind the basket. It's very open.
Hmm.
So court wise, that was a tough place to play. I played at Duke, I played Maryland, North Carolina, but I'll just say for me, I always struggled playing at Syracuse just because of the size of the dome and the backdrop kind of always threw me off a bit.
Yeah. I've got to ask too. I know you mentioned the NFL stint there for a little bit. How did you
Yep.
go from having never played football to even getting an offer to go to minicamp with the Rams?
Well, it happened where during the end of my senior season, Coach Calhoun, told me, that, and I think at practice, I see a couple guys with, the New York Jets logo or the New England Patriots, and
Yeah.
they're hanging by the door, and I felt like eyes were on me. I think they were kind of judging my character after practice, and it was a
Yeah.
little odd. And then, I think we were on the road, and Calhoun pulled me aside and he said, "Hey, I just want to let you know that there's some football coaches that are watching you, and a couple of agents reached out." So when the season was over, Coach Calhoun sat me down. I met with an agent. His name was Joe Linta, top agent at the time. I think he represented Joe Flacco, guys like that. So he was a legit
Yeah.
agent. And right there, I did a little combine, a private workout with him and his team of people from his agency. Finished the workout, and I'll never forget. He looked at Coach Calhoun and he basically said, "This guy's going to get picked up. He has what it takes." So um, I had about a month of training. Did a little mini combine on campus with all the NFL scouts, and after my workout, I had a lunch at Friendly's on campus with the tight ends coach for the Chargers, and pretty much knew on draft day that whether drafted in the last round as a mystery pick or
Yeah.
as a free agent, I knew I was going to go that day because I had some soft guarantees,
Yeah.
during that time. So that's why I ran with it.
So did you actually go through any of the minicamp process or?
Sure. Yeah, I went to some OTAs and then I went to rookie minicamp. And like I said, I signed a 2 year deal, 2 year deal with them. But again, it was just the playbook looked like it was Chinese writing for me.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, even when I sat with Scott Linehan, he's like, "Son, you're so talented. You're hanging right in and on all the individual drills." And he goes, "But have you ever played video games? Have you ever played Madden?" I go, "To be honest with you, no, I haven't. I wish I did, though. The book would become a lot clearer to me." So, but at the end of the day, I made the right decision because, you got to do what you love. And basketball is my passion. Basketball is what I love. So,
Yeah.
uh, I went overseas and explored the world.
How did an NFL practice compare to one of Coach Calhoun's practices?
To be honest, the practice wasn't that bad. I say this to this day. I mean, the practice, granted, I think I was fourth or fifth string, but you get 2 reps, then you come out and you wait about 10 minutes, you go back in, get 2 reps, come out. I was like, man, this
This
isn't
is the
that
life,
bad.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, listen, a gasser is not as bad as a suicide, in 30 seconds, 24 seconds, however we had to do it. So
Yeah.
Calhoun had me prepared for the conditioning aspect. I'll tell you that.
That's great. I want to ask now, we saw the story come out last week. You got to go meet with the team
Yep.
down at Florida. How's it been starting to connect with Coach Hurley and this team and getting to interact with them a bit?
Man, Coach Hurley, his energy is just contagious. I mean, his energy is something like I've never seen. And hats off to him. Right now on staff, Coach Moore is kind of, our guy, for the
Yeah.
players back in the day, and Coach Moore does a great job of keeping in touch with us. Anytime we need anything, we know we can lean on him. And like I said, I mean, that staff, the coaching staff, from Coach Hurley to the managers, I mean, it's first class. They always treat you so well. They treat my family well. But Coach Hurley, I met him I think 6 years when he first took over at the
Okay.
alumni game in Connecticut, and we shared some words, and I think he used to see me play when I was younger, and
Yeah.
he's like, oh, I loved your style of play. You were a hard worker, hard player, and I gave it right back to him. I go, I love your style of coaching. I mean, I love your energy. He's a guy I would love to play for. But you know what? He has that team. They're all bought in.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing I can tell you about, being at that game at Florida, meeting with a lot of the guys, seeing the guys in the locker room. I mean, this is a tight grip unit. I mean, they are locked in. They believe in coach. Coach believes in them, and it's just a very special group. It's a very special group.
Yeah. Who stood out to you as in that game? I know a number of guys had some great performances in that game, but anyone in particular stand out to you?
You know what? I'm impressed by everybody. I mean, the freshmen,
Yeah.
Alex and Donovan. I mean, the basketball IQ for these freshmen is, that's just a beauty, to my eyes. I mean, especially the way, AAU basketball is nowadays, and
Yeah.
to see skilled, fundamentally sound freshmen come in. Hats off to their coaches in high school. Hats off to our coaching staff, because I mean they're a high IQ guys for freshmen, and I'm very impressed with both of those guys. Sanogo, love his toughness. Andre Jackson is just, I mean, who wouldn't want him on their team? I mean, that guy is he's all over the place. Then you got Hawkins. I mean, listen, Joey. I mean, they're doing so well. They're all
Yeah.
turning in everyone. You know, I know the whole roster. That's how good they are. It's they're really doing a great job. So super proud. And yeah, they got a big season ahead of them. They're gonna be tough this year.
Yeah, you've been a part of some really good UConn teams. So what's it like playing now where some of these UConn teams in the past have gone kind of a little bit under the radar. But what's it like playing as a team where now like you kind of got that target on your back? You're going to be going on the road in the Big East, like you're everyone's big game right now. So what's it like being a part of a team like that where you can't necessarily play the underdog card much more?
Yeah, I never think UConn has the underdog card. We built a strong tradition, but definitely, I definitely understand what you're talking about. Yeah, they have a target on their back. They haven't, especially the young guys. They haven't seen that end of game adversity yet.
Yeah.
Those are things you look at. But again, I mean, I have so much confidence in that coaching staff, and Hurley really does. He has these guys together. Just looking at when the coaches spoke after the game, I mean, you see 17 young adults sitting on that chair, and they're looking through their coach's eyes.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, I can guarantee you 99% didn't know who I was when I spoke, and sure they had to Google me after, but it didn't matter. They hear alumni, and all 17, 18 of them are looking right through my eyes, nodding their head. It's a family, and it's a culture that Hurley is building that, I'm a believer. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm really a believer in this team, so they're going to have a good season.
That's great for
Continue
what.
to have a good season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For what you feel comfortable sharing, what was your message to these guys after the game?
Just, you know what? Just to, they're playing at a high level, and just to keep it that way. Stay tight, stay together. Like I told you, you got to leave, all personal wants aside, and you got to have that team mentality, because once your teammates see that, you become one unit.
Hmm.
And that's what they have now. It's selfless basketball. They're playing collectively as a team, really good how they share the ball. And that's why glue guys like Andre Jackson on a team like this is so important. So again, I mean, there's a lot to be excited for this season, and it's just a hats off to the staff. And you always got to give credit to these high school coaches too, because
Yeah.
these two freshmen that came in, I mean, they're ready to play ball. They're skilled for being freshmen, and it's very impressive.
Yeah, I know. Especially when you think of Donovan too, especially from your perspective, being a big guy. I feel like in the college game, it's usually the bigger guys who need a little bit of time to get adjusted to
Oh
the college
yeah,
game.
yeah, no, and that's what I'm saying. I mean, when you look back at 7-footers, and let me tell you, He's I mean, I think what's he listed at 7'2"?
So yeah.
He might be 7'4" or 7'5". I don't know, or maybe I'm getting older and shorter. I don't know what it is, but let me tell you, he's every bit of 7'2".
Yeah.
And just looking back at the history of bigs, I mean, the beat needed a couple years, right,
Yeah.
to get his footwork down and develop. And I mean, man, you can go back to what Travis Knight, but I think elephant in the room here. I think we have potentially the best, one of the top 7-footers ever to come through UConn right now, and so he's a blessing to have.
Yeah.
And to come in so skilled as a freshman, it's impressive.
For sure. Just wait until coming years with the way that basketball is now. They're going to be having him shoot threes, soon. You never know.
Well, yeah, and that's another thing. It's always funny because I always say there was a while there, probably an 8-year stretch, where I was that typical old guy. Man, if I was on the team now, I'd be playing 35 minutes a game. I mean, I remember I said that the year after I graduated. I'm like, man, Jeff needs me out there. Like if I was still eligible. This is probably the first time I don't say that anymore because Adama and Donovan, they got that big man spot held down pretty good. So
Yeah.
yeah, they're talented. I'll tell you that.
Oh, well, Ed, I really appreciate you taking some time to come on. This is fun looking back at your time at UConn and looking at this team this year. So I appreciate the time and hope to see you up here at a game sometime soon.
You will. Yep. Husky family forever. So you'll be seeing a lot of me. So
Awesome. We'll love to see it.
All right. So hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Anytime. Thanks, Ed.
All right. Yep.
We'll
Go Huskies.